Because of that situation, I ended up going to the hospital. Hey, it's me, Sarah, and welcome back to another video nobody asked for. Since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I decided that I'm going to talk about mental health. So growing up, I never really talked about mental health because I always felt that, depression and anxiety was a them problem. Them as in other people outside of myself, stuff that other people struggle with and I don't. And I think that partially stems from the fact that in the Black community, mental health isn't widely talked about. Now, people are definitely starting to make strides towards talking about it a lot more, but it's still a pretty taboo subject in the Black community. It can definitely be very detrimental. It definitely can have unfortunate repercussions. Like I mentioned, growing up, I didn't really talk about my feelings that much, and whenever I did have negative feelings, many times I would kind of just push them away, just like, I'm gonna ignore you until you go away, and then they never would, and then they come pouring out at literally the worst time possible. Mental health wasn't ever something that was ever discussed in my family. It still isn't discussed in my family, and honestly, truly, I don't know if I'd want to change that anytime soon, because my parents aren't the type of people that really take mental health the way it should be taken, so I don't really want to talk to them about it. The reason why I'm making this video is so I can talk about my own personal struggles with mental health, specifically my lowest point. Spring of 19, my last semester in college. If I laugh, it's not because I think it's funny. It is something that is very hard for me to talk about, and many times when I'm uncomfortable talking about something, especially in mental health, I get very uncomfortable talking about mental health. I'll just start to laugh. So if I start laughing, that's just me coping with take mental health seriously, but sometimes I laugh. Spring of 19 was the lowest point for my mental health. Hopefully it doesn't ever get lower than that, but we'll see. Spring of 19, I did 4 shows. I didn't think that doing 4 shows would impact me the way it ended up impacting me, because I had done 4 shows the previous spring, and even though my grades weren't so good, my mental health was just fine. But the difference between spring of 18 and this particular spring is that 3 out of the 4 shows then weren't main stage productions. They were like smaller productions, whereas this semester, 3 out of the 4 were big productions. The only one that wasn't a big main stage production was the Vagina Monologue, which wasn't even done in the theater department. It was done outside the theater department. Because I was a full-time student and I was doing 4 shows, I got burnt out. The thing is, I didn't realize I was burnt out until very, very late into the semester when I was doing my last show from Jericho. The burnout didn't manifest itself until I did From Jericho. I got very irritable. I remember not wanting to be there at all. I remember saying multiple times, I wish the show was over. I wish the show was over. I don't want to be here. And I love theater. I freaking love theater. So if I don't want to be here, either I'm having a really bad day or things are not going very well. And I remember there was no real reason why I didn't want to be in the show, because I was so excited about it. Once I found out about it and decided to do it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this show is going to be so great. It's going to be so fun. This is going to be the show of the semester, and it was. Once we were actually able to use the rehearsal space, I was so over it, and I didn't even know why. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to leave. I didn't want to be there, and I remember that I had so many breakdowns. Things got really, really, really bad. Now, the irritability was one part burnout and one part me just generally feeling left out. Now, I'm not going to really talk about the whole me feeling left out right now. I'll insert a clip of me talking about feeling left out, because I think I explain it better there in that clip than I can right now. I definitely felt more in the outskirts. I kind of felt like it was them and then me. It's not like I was actually ostracized from the group. It's not like they actually really did anything. Well, most of them anyway. I didn't feel like I was a part of them. I felt very othered, so to speak. And plus it's not like I was really ever included in things. I feel like I almost had to insert myself sometimes if I wanted to be included in things. Whenever people would hang out like after rehearsal. It's not like an invite was ever really extended to me. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I'm willing to admit it because I don't think any of them are going to see this. I have some of them on social media, and sometimes they'll post something on Snapchat of them all hanging out together, and you know, in a way, even though I don't go there anymore, it still kind of hurts because I never got that inclusion while I was over there, you know, and even though I'm not over there, so it would make sense why I wouldn't be invited now. There have been times where I've seen them hanging out with alums, and I know I could live 5 minutes away from that school and I would still never ever extend to me. Like I could literally still go to that school and that would never be extended to me because I was never a part of that. I was never a part of their group. There was this situationship that I was in for like 2 months in the fall semester. And that was the only time I really ever hung out with anybody. That was the only time I was ever invited to hang out with anybody, when I was in that situationship. And when that situationship ended, and so did those invitations. The only time I ever hung out with anybody in that department was cast related. So besides feeling left out and being irritable and whatnot, I also had many breakdowns, primarily during Tech Week and the week of the show. Most notably, I had a breakdown during Tech Sunday. I had what I believe was an anxiety attack. I don't really have much experience with anxiety attacks, so I don't know if I can necessarily call it an anxiety attack, but it's what it felt like at the time. I mean, I have had one before that, or something that I assume was an anxiety attack. I don't know if that's necessarily the right term to call it, but that's what I think happened, an anxiety attack, so I will call it that. I had an anxiety attack during that rehearsal, and they had to end rehearsal because of me. Yeah, well, actually, I think they ended rehearsal for me. I dipped out. I couldn't be there anymore. And next thing I knew, rehearsal was over. And it hadn't even been that long since I was out there. After that incident, I decided, you know, I think it's time for me to get help, because that shouldn't happen. On my campus, there was this place, I think it's called the CAP Center, whatnot, where you could talk to counselors. I started seeing someone weekly, even though this was really late in the semester. It was really nice to talk to somebody unbiased, because I felt so very alone in that theater department. Now, granted, this is nothing against the people in the theater department. You know, they, for the most part, are good people. But I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about my struggles. So it was really nice to have that, to finally have that outlet, even if it was a complete stranger. Despite the fact that I, finally decided to get some help, unfortunately, things didn't get any better. The week of the show, things only got worse. There was this incident that happened with 2 of my castmates that really brought my mental health from, down from like here. I mean, this is a little high, but you can't see it. My hand's lower. From here all the way down to the floor. Well, okay, not the floor, I think I'm exaggerating. But all the way down to like maybe my ankles. And it definitely made things a whole lot worse for me, because on top of, the loneliness and the irritability, it made me very anxious. And I felt like I couldn't be around those people. It made me feel like nobody wanted me around, and that they were probably better off without me. And it was really hard, because of that incident. I felt like I just couldn't be around those people, and I ended up switching dressing rooms because I didn't feel safe in that space, and I didn't feel comfortable in that space, and I didn't feel welcome because of that situation. I ended up going to the hospital. I'm not gonna get into the specifics of that very night, or at least too much into specifics. It was the wee hours of the morning, like 2 a.m. on opening night, that I ended up in the hospital for mental health related issues. I almost didn't end up going to opening night because they weren't about to discharge me. Because when they put you in the hospital for mental health related things, they put you in the psych ward, I think it's called. And before they discharge you, you have to talk to a therapist. And when I initially talked to her, she said, I don't think we're gonna release you. I started crying and I was like, what do you mean you're not gonna discharge me? Like, it's opening night. I can't stay here. It was terrible. Because that area of the hospital only has 2 or 3 rooms. So if any more people come in, they just put you in a bed in the hallway. And that's what happened to me. And I couldn't see any windows. And they take away all your stuff. They take away all your belongings. Well, they didn't take away my glasses. At least I don't think they took away my glasses. I don't remember if they took away my glasses. No, because I remember consistently looking up at the clock and I could see the time. So I don't think they took my glasses. But they took all my belongings. You don't have access to your cell phone. If you want to call somebody, you can use your phone to look up their number if you don't know it by heart and call somebody, but you're not allowed to call anybody. They take away all your clothes, everything, and I completely understand why. Initially, he wasn't gonna give me the okay to be discharged, and I freaked out, and I was like so close to calling my stage manager and being like, girl, I'm not gonna make it! I'm not gonna be here tonight! And she'd be like, Sarah, what do you mean? It's opening night, what do you mean you're not gonna be here? Y'all are gonna have to replace me! After talking to her a second time, she was like, you know what? I think I will give you the okay to be discharged. And I got discharged in the afternoon. So I was there for about 12 hours. I got there around 2 a.m. and left sometime around 2 or 3 p.m. And because I didn't have a ride, I had to walk back to campus. Thank God I figured it out. Otherwise I would have been lost. I walked back to campus because I got there in an ambulance. That's how I got there, if you were wondering. Yes, they did charge me for that. That was so embarrassing. The reason why I'm showing this very sad anecdote is I think it's really important to be transparent about your mental health struggles. I mean, granted, be as transparent as you want to. You don't have to go into specific details if you don't want to, but it's important for people to share these things because 1, people know that they're not alone, and 2, to help destigmatize. I mean, I feel like that should have been the first reason, to help destigmatize mental health, especially for us Black folk, because mental health isn't taken as serious as it should be. There are so many Black people that I've met who are like, oh no, therapy, that's stupid, like that's for white people, that's not for me, let the whites have that. And that is such a sad way to go about things. You know, imagine thinking getting help is a bad thing. All in all, if you're struggling with your mental health, find someone to talk to. Find someone that you can trust to talk to, because you can't talk to everybody about your mental health issues because not everybody's very trustworthy. If you can't afford to go to therapy, do so. If you think getting medicated will help you, do so. Struggling with your mental health isn't a way to live. And of course, it's not going to be easy, breezy, beautiful, but it's better to do something that'll help you than to just think that struggling is the way to get by. If you didn't hate this video and you actually made it to the end, you can like, subscribe, share with your friends, follow me on all my social media accounts, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!